Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Balanced Life with Dr. Jacquie. As you know, I say this each and every week. This is my favorite day of the week, the time that we have to gather together, to sit and talk and have some amazing conversation and dialogue. And let me tell you, today is not going to be without its oohs and its ahs and its ahas. We're talking moms, all things parenting, as we come upon Mother's Day. You know, I really do think about and cherish the relationship that I had with my mom. And I know, get your tissue, grab them. It's going to be a teary-eyed day for some of us. But, you know, in other moments, we'll just sit and talk and laugh because there's so many different kinds of moms. They're tiger moms. They're helicopter moms. There's will you stay out of my business moms. There's the you're too busy mom. There are just so many kinds of moms. And of course, we're going to celebrate those women in our spaces, our grandmothers, our aunties, our cousins, all of these women who are our surrogate moms. And oh, how we love them and the role that they play in each of our lives. So sit back, get ready for today's show on A Balanced Life as we talk about all things mommies. Welcome back, everyone. I am delighted to bring in our guest today. We have a host of men and women who are going to highlight for us their relationships with their moms. We'll hear some special stories. So we're bringing in our guests, Dr. Tierney, Charlotte Avery, Chef Rock Harper, Latrice Schrader, and of course, Derisha Moore. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Oh my goodness. Now, let me just tell you, I get so tickled when I think about the relationship that I had with my mother. Now, my mom, for those of you who are out there may know, she passed in the summer of 2010. And it took me a while to get over it, but I'm in that space where I don't cry about it anymore. And I think that's a testament to the strength that my mom gave me. I literally tried to exemplify those principles. And as you are all thinking about the relationship that you have with your moms, I'm going to start with Charlotte Avery. She's a mom of 7 and she has an amazing mother as well. Charlotte, what are some of the things that you identify with as a mom that you got from your mom?
Oh my goodness. So first of all, let me just say my mom is the best. She's like the best mom. She's the best grandma. She's wonderful. And so some of the things that I got from my mom are the fact that, you know, I'm a very playful mom. And my mom has always been very, very playful. She played with me and my brothers. She played with and even now, I mean, my mom is 74 years old and I'm so thankful that she's still living. But my mom plays with my children. She like hops on my son's bike and goes riding down the street. She's just very present. And I do my best to be very present in the life of my children because, you know, I think that it's important for me to give them my presence versus giving them a bunch of presents.
Wow, I love that sentiment. Be present in the life of your children. Now, Chef Rock Harper, you have a very unique situation because you're in business with your mom. And I know that you guys have some probably wonderful, amazing father-mother conversations. How is that? You know, I'm raising a family with 3 sisters. I have 2 other sisters, so there are 3 girls. So what is it like in your relationship with your mom?
Well, it's a beautiful one at the end of the day. You know, it is not without its challenges, obviously. But my mother always raised us to be accepting of the moment, right? Which comes in really handy in the restaurant business where, you know, it is what it is, what she always says. So that's a meditation or a mantra in accept it for what it is and figure out what we're going to do next. And we sort of lived our lives that way, that we have these cards and let's figure out how to play them. And she's obvious. This might be a little obvious, but she really nurtured my love of food at a very young age, not just the chef side, but just appreciating different cultures and trying different things. So we have a great relationship that still continues to this day.
That's outstanding. And I know that for those of you out there who, are raising boys, Chef Rock Harper just said something who was extremely amazing in a sense that he said at the end of the day, which means there's a whole lot of stuff that goes on in the course of all of our days. But at the end of the day, the love, the nurture, the relationship, the caring, that's what we take away from that relationship. Hey, Dr. Tierney, how are you doing?
I am doing wonderful, Dr. Jackie.
So what kind of characteristic do you have that you believe you got from your mom?
All of them. It's funny. I say that and I chuckle because it's like the older I get, the more and more I can see my mom, So I grew up with a village of moms, from aunts who say that I was their first child to my grandmother who was just the most nurturing, mom ever. And then my actual mom, who was a single mother, and she worked so hard, to provide for me. And so the running joke with us was that I looked like my father, but that my personality and my temperament was like my mom. And so I would always, no, it's not. No, it's not. Well, there are so many times now where I will say something and my husband will look at me and go, that's your mama. You sound just like your mama. That you're holding your hands just like your mama. You hold your purse just like your mama, or you're walking just like your mama, or, and I'll just catch myself just doing little things or saying little things or making up silly songs as I'm walking around the house or, just little things that my mom, will say, or even when I'm talking to people, the number one thing she would always say, everything done in the dog don't come to the light. And so I hated it when I was growing up, like, but now I say that all the time, so it's just amazing how as I have grown and matured, I'm turning into my mom. I'm like that commercial, and they say you turn into your parents, that's me all day long.
I can tell you that we probably all can identify in some of those ways. Now, we have two very special people joining us today, and I am always thrilled to talk to good people. And you guys know Jerisha Moore of ABCD and Company. And then we're also inviting today Latrice Schrader into our space. And later on in the show, I'm going to have a one-on-one with each of them. But for now, I just want you to hear a little bit from Latrice about her character traits that she believes she has from her mom.
Well, one thing's for sure is I am organic like my mom. I didn't recognize until I was older that a lot of things she was teaching me was organic, making home meals for my family from scratch, being in the kitchen with her. One of the biggest tools or the things that she exposed me to and implanted in me was being a Christian. And that has gauged how I navigate life. And it's been very, helpful with my kids and how I raised them up. But I am my mom because I'm a hustler. She was a hustler. She wouldn't be broke. If there was a picture she could take off the wall to sell it to make some money, she would. She had us hustling and she taught us how to hustle so early on. So I take my mother's hustle spirit. I take her just creating a home for my kids spirit, making meals for them, and just providing a comfortable space for them. So I, appreciate my mom. She's no longer here, but I appreciate all of the things that she taught me without me even realizing she was teaching me those things. By just being around her every day and in her presence taught me more than anything that she could have ever conveyed to me verbally. So I try to do the same thing with my children, just have them in my space because there's so much to learn just from being around, your mom or your parents that you can just pick up on without them communicating it. So I took those things from her. And I don't know if that was her thought pattern in doing those things, but I learned a lot from just being in her presence.
I'll tell you, you said a word there because definitely more is caught than taught. Oftentimes we don't identify readily that we're modeling certain behaviors and actions and attitudes. And then all of a sudden you see your little person doing something that you did. And you're like, who taught that child that thing? And sure enough, we picked it up from some place, where they have seen us or other adults around them. Hey, Jerisha.
Hey.
How are you doing today?
I am awesome and glad to be here.
I am excited that you are here. Now, I know that I'm going to talk to you a little later on in the show and we'll get into some other things, but what are some of the character traits that you see as a young woman that you gleaned or that your mom taught you?
So I would say for my mom and I, we are both extroverted. We love people. And I remember when I was younger and we would just walk around the neighborhood or we'd go somewhere and everyone knew her name. But the story around who she was is even more powerful. And that was of loyalty and the fact that she's always there for people. And so I really take that into my relationships. And I see I'm pretty much the same. You know, everywhere I go, my business partners always laugh because people come up to them and they say, "Hey, I know your firm," or "Hey, I know Dorisha. Is that your business partner?" And they're like, "Yeah, well, what about me?" So it's just hilarious to me how I've taken that spirit of influence. And I know that it's a God-given gift that I have from her, and that woo and that love for people. And so I really see the connectivity and how, you know, like one of our fellow panelists said, you walk around and you're with your parent, your mom, and you're experiencing what their life is like, and you never know how that same influence and that impact translates to yours as well.
Absolutely. I hope, audience, that you are taking good notes and paying attention to what our guests have said today, because in this grand scheme of parenting, and, you know, there is no manual for motherhood. It's something that happens and then you sort of figure it out along the way. And then you learn how to take the training wheels off. When we come back after the break, I want to have a special one-on-one conversation with Latrice Strader. You're going to learn a little bit more about who she is, what she's doing in her space, and how she's navigating not only being a mom, but being a force in this world. When we're back after the break.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Welcome back, everyone, to A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. I'm excited to have this one-on-one now with Latrice Strader. I want to bring in Latrice because, you know, I have watched this young woman turn several corners in her life. She is literally almost like a Renaissance woman. You heard her talk about in a previous segment things that she learned from her mom. And I think for a lot of us, we often don't know how to use what she called a hustle spirit. As a mom, as a businesswoman, as an entrepreneur, welcome, Latrice Strader.
Thank you so much.
So tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am Latrice, as she introduced. I am a hairstylist. I own my own hair salon. I run, or I have my own product line, which includes flat irons. I am a realtor. I am a momager. I do interior design. There's a whole lot to who I am, but I'm just a creative spirit. So I met Jackie from doing her hair years ago, and we just created and have a good relationship courtesy of that. Right now, what I do, I don't know exactly where you want me to flow with this, but I would like to say that I started off with the tools that have helped me, you know, create who I am as far as an entrepreneur. I'm using those same tools to help navigate my kids because I see those tools within them. They are little hustlers. They are artists of the same and a little different. So, and helping with them, you have to figure out what it is. I'm going to go into a parent mode. You have to figure out the tools and the things that your kids are gifted in. And with doing that, you have to put them in a lot of different activities, right? And then from there, you figure out what they're good at if they haven't discovered it on their own. When they make that discovery, it is up to you and for you as a parent, in my opinion, to back that and to support that and to put them in the necessary classes to help aid with the development of that, because ultimately that is what their God-given talent is, and that tool or that gift is what God will use to allow for him to pull and reach other people. And it could be the smallest thing. It could be them being a singer. For example, Beyonce's a singer. She reaches so many people, right? So where we think those things are small gifts, any gift can be used for God to help with aiding and pulling people in. So where your kid may be a dancer, like one of my daughters, she can dance, she can act, one can sing, my son can draw. I don't look at those as minor things. I look at them as a huge gift that he can use to spread his word through them. And ultimately, I believe that that's what we're all here for. I am a hairstylist, and through that, seat or with that seat I stand behind, I help and I feed a lot of people through conversations. So there's no small gift. You know, a lot of clients talk to me about different things. I create time to be able to be this hairstylist and then be the mom and then sell real estate and do interior design. But again, it's creating the balance to do all of those things. But you also, as I stated, have an obligation to figure out whatever it is that you're good at, that your kids are good at. And some of us get one gift, some get multiple gifts. And when you have those multiple gifts, it's for you to create the time. And I have a schedule which allows me to wake up at 5 a.m. And during that time, from 5 to 9, it is me time. It is for me to fuel me, for me to continue to educate me, for me to read and get my workout in and do all of the things I need to do before I press play, to be the mom, to be the hairstylist, to be the real estate agent, to do the interior design stuff. So there is enough time. You just have to create a schedule to do these things. And so I think we owe it to ourselves to make sure that we create the time in every day to feed us, because otherwise we will deplete ourselves and we will just be operating in the spirit of helping others and not ourselves. And then you become drained and burnt out, and you don't want to ever get to that point. So I would say, in creating a balanced life, figure out that time where you can do 2 hours or hour, if that's all you can do, to just fuel and feed yourself so that you can continue to feed others and the world. Because if you're depleted, then how can you be used?
You had some great statements there, because having a schedule is important, and making certain that you have time for yourself is important, because you do give a lot. You pour so much into so many people, because even just sitting in your chair as a stylist, you're getting coaching, you're getting laughter, you're getting to wind down. And so you do, as you said, you feed people, you give so much of who you are to other people. And I'm glad that you mentioned for our audience the time that you take for self. Because, you know, you're not being selfish to wake up early and want to have that quiet time, because your body deserves that. Your mind needs it, so that way you can pour out as much as you do. Now, you recently did something that a lot of people only dream of. And I think that it's very exciting. And you guys, when I tell you what it is, you're going to be like, okay, wait. So she's owning her own hair business. She works with some of the most amazing people in the industry in that space. She's, you know, got her kids, you know, graduating out of Duke Ellington School of the Arts, and they're in their own right doing plays and music and graphic design and so many things. But you recently took the time to go on a game show. Now, but how in the world, with your schedule, did you find to get on a game show and then do the most unthinkable thing in the end of it? Please share.
So my daughter, the oldest, she graduated from Berklee School of Music, and she came home and I decided, oh my gosh, I got to have this party for her, a celebration. This is a huge accomplishment. She has a double major for songwriting and music business. And I'm in my back room that you can see back here, and I'm watching Wheel of Fortune. That is my thing, right? Since I was little, watching it with my parents. And my kids hear me yelling at the television all the time. They're like, Mom, just go on the show, audition. Because I'm back there solving puzzles, yelling at the people. So I said, you know what? I'm not doing this. I'm going to get on there. I'm going to choke. But my daughter comes down this night after her event for her graduation celebration. She says, Mom, audition. So I said, you know what? Whatever. Shortly after she said that, Pat came on and he said, now easier than ever to audition for Wheel of Fortune. And I said, okay, well, let's see, because that must be a sign. So shortly after, they put up a link. I go on to this link, which is wheeloffortune.com, I believe, from what I recall. And when I clicked on it this time, it was easier to actually navigate and figure out how to get on the show because I had checked prior. So when I looked, it said do a minute video. It said do the application. So I do this video with Snapchat because it put the filter on me, right? So I didn't have to get up and put any makeup on. It just didn't give me an excuse to not do it. So I recorded, I stopped at a minute, like spot on. So I uploaded that, put the application in, sent in my group chat to my kids that I had submitted. And maybe a couple of months later, my kids asked me, well, Mom, what happened? I said, I don't know, maybe they didn't pick me. A few weeks after that, my mom passed on August the 8th. So I celebrate her every August 8th. On, I believe, the 10th or the 11th, I received notification. Now I'm at a dinner with my girlfriends and I'm complaining to them that I have to call Comcast because my Wheel of Fortune segments are not recording on my DVR. So they think it's not that serious, but it's that big of a deal for me. The next day, which I believe is the 11th, I received an email stating that I had a Zoom audition for Wheel of Fortune. Congratulations. And I'm like, oh my gosh, wait a minute. They have selected me. I'm not out the window, right? I'm not out the loop. So I had that audition maybe 2 weeks prior, and it was an audition actually with another potential contestant, and we saw puzzles. We went in separate rooms. We had to do puzzles on our own. And from there, maybe a couple of weeks after that, I was selected, which was shocking for me because now I have to face all of these fears of, oh my gosh, if you get on there, you may choke, because I've seen people do it. And I know that they have to know these things and they're doing well at home, but it's the pressure of going on the show. So now I get this opportunity to go, and it's Secret Santa week. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a big week. So whatever I win on this show, a contestant can win, because now it's more pressure. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to get the consolation prize of $1,000. So Latrice, you got to bring your A game because you want someone else to be blessed at home. So I get the date, I fly out. With all the COVID stuff, it's a little extra stressful because you have to get the test to get out out of DC. Honestly, they wanted to make sure I didn't have COVID. Took it once I got there the day before the show. Now it's the morning of, but let me not speed past this portion. The day I took my COVID test for the show in LA, I met a lady named Peggy. My mom's nickname is Peggy. And for some reason, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like my mom being right here with me. And me and this lady, we kicked it off, and she brought me some comfort for some reason. And we talked, and in her conversation, I was unsure if I was going to go walk that day or if I was going to go back to the room and study and get more prepared, because I was nervous. I was so nervous. I've never been that nervous in my life. I was eating Tums. I've never eaten Tums. Went through a bottle of them in like 4 days because my stomach was flipping, and I thought that, I thought maybe I was lactose or something. I said, maybe it's the milk. I couldn't figure it out. But all along, it was the whole being selected for this show. So now that I'm on the show, it's the morning of, and I'm like, you got to do this, because all of the encouragement and all of the pushing and the backing that I have done for my kids, I couldn't be the one that backed out, right? And now my kids are rallying for me the way I rally for them. They're sending me text messages, Mom, you can do this, you got this, because they know I'm nervous, right? And I'm sitting there the whole time, like, you got to do this, because you got to show your kids that when the big stage and when those opportunities come, you have to be prepared. You have to face it, head on, and just go with it. And at the end of the day, I had to tell myself, God did not bring me here to embarrass me in front of a bunch of people, or to, not get the glory out of my presence of being here, because I'm this local, regular DC girl, come from DC public school. I've had some great highlights. I've, with my business and different things like that. But I'm like, out of all the people, and these people are talking in the waiting area about how long it took for them to get on the show. So I'm like, this is a blessing. There's a reason you're here, Latrice. So I go on, and I said, it's game on. It's nothing you could do. You just gotta trust it, and you have to just keep yourself calm. And I did it. They said, action. And I started getting comfortable, and I was, did a couple of toss-ups and solved the first 2. And then it's time to spin, and I bankrupt 3 times, which is throwing me off. So, and I'm so competitive. So now I have to still stay in faith, because I have to know that I already see myself in the winner's round. So in order for you to get there, you have to continue to pursue at a level of, I know that I'm supposed to be at the bonus round. And I kept going and kept going. And here we come. Here's the prize puzzle. And I land on the Express, which was the game changer, because now I don't have to touch the wheel at all, because the wheel is not my friend today, because I have 3 bankruptcies. And I totaled up maybe an extra $13,000 just for the letters and solving. And then I won the prize to Disney, a Disney vacation, which took that one round up to, I believe, about almost $20,000, which put me in the winner's seat, essentially. And so for someone to catch me, it could happen, but it was kind of unlikely, but I've seen it happen before. Now I get to the next puzzle. I do the pop-up. I'm really confident now. Now the other 2 come, the other young lady, she solves those. And here's the puzzle right before the bonus round. And I get there, and I have all the letters in front of me. This is being overconfident. And I read the puzzle, and I read it wrong. I have like every letter in the puzzle except for one. And I read it wrong. But that had to happen to me so that I can calm down. And when I got to the bonus round, this is how I knew it was all orchestrated by God. Prior that morning, the show starts prepping at around 7 a.m. I was speaking with someone in the audience. I don't know who it was, but I said, this is like the Super Bowl. I said, the kicker can kick the field goal for a regular game very easily. It's a no-brainer. I said, but when the Super Bowl takes place, that same 20-yard kick is very, very tough. I said, this is like me kicking the field goal. I kid you not. My bonus puzzle solve is kicking a field goal. I couldn't believe it.
So is this like the final round where you are winning everything?
I've won everything. I'm going to the final round. My choice is fun and games.
So tell us how this ends. as we prepare to wrap up this segment? What happens? I know the audience is waiting. They want to know. They haven't seen the show. You haven't told anything.
So I get to the bonus round and I win $39,000 for this one puzzle. And you couple that with what I've already won, and I've won a total of $62,000. I think $399. I kicked the field goal and I won the entire show. And I was the first person to win the show for the entire day. It was 2 shows taped prior to me. So I was the first person to win everything.
That's super exciting. I love the way that you've given us this story. As we prepare to go into our break, you not only won for yourself, but your tenacity and your determination and your understanding of puzzles also allowed you to win for someone else. And I think that a part of being an adult, being a mom, being a person who values life of other people, as you stated before, it gave you that extra push and that tenacity to say, I'm not just doing this for myself, but I get to bring another winner along with me so they can also have a gain. You know, Latrice, thank you so much for sharing your story. When we come back after the break, we're going to talk a little bit more about what it looks like to have people in your corner who will gauge you, guide you, and give you what you need, even when you're uncertain that you can make it. When we come back, we're going to talk for a little bit to Derisha Moore after the break.
Put 10 in here?
10, and you don't come out till you die. And you eat him, you eat 10.
Oh my God.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm excited about this next segment that we're going to do because oftentimes people want to judge you about where you come from, about who your parents are and where you were raised. But we have a young lady that we're going to talk to now who has defied all the odds. I'm excited to talk to our friend, our frequent guest, Derisha Moore. Hi, Derisha.
Hey, hey.
Let me just say, I'm very comfortable with the fact that you are comfortable with the questions that I'm going to ask you.
Yep.
Because you have a story that many people would have counted you out simply because of who your mom is. So I just want you to share a little bit about your mom and your background and highlight the amazing trajectory that God put your life on in spite of your past and your upbringing.
Yes, absolutely. I'm proud to share. I believe that every part and pebble in our life's journey really transforms our thinking and most importantly, catapult us into our purpose. So as it pertains to my life story, I am born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, inner city. I know every time I talk about Cleveland, some way, somehow Bone Thugs and Harmony comes up. And that's a very small part of Cleveland, but it is a relevant part to my story as I grew up on 93rd and St. Clair, which was only a couple blocks away. But what I wanted to share about my mom in particular is that she did not have a college education. She graduated from high school. She tried college and ended up pregnant with me. And there began her journey as a mom. And so as any mother, a single mother at that, the sacrifices that are associated with that journey, of course, she experienced, and by nature, I experienced as well. And so going into public school, and one of the things that I can say that even though I went to a Title I school, my teachers, most of them were actually Delta women. They were so influential in my journey and really building that community and that tribe and that village that Jackie talked about earlier. But this was a part of my journey, and my mom having to prioritize working and providing for myself and my sister and I, rather than be super, super present in what was happening to me in school and what was happening to me even socially and in terms of like my development and how I was growing as a young lady. And so that's a small piece, but I say all that to say, on the flip side of things, I am living in Northern Virginia. A lot of the youth that I work with, our lived experiences are the polar opposite. They come from two-parent households. They come from parents who are college educated, and that was not my reality. But my mom, she made the necessary sacrifices for me to be here. And I think one of the things that really is powerful is that she allowed, within reason, and people that she trusted, surrogate moms, aunties. My aunts played a huge role in my life. I come from a background of very strong women, my grandmother. And so although my mom could not always be present, there was always someone there to be there and support me along the way.
Support is extremely important when you're growing up in the inner city. And I know that our audience will be like, that's not so unique. You know, we all have something in our past or in our background, but it's those unique challenges that, you know, we always talk about this nurture versus nature. And so when we talk about these things, oftentimes your environment can be the hindrance to your progress. Can you speak to our audience, to those parents who are raising children in less than comfortable situations, who can say, you know, Dereisha, you're a Gates Millennial Scholar. Now, coming out of inner city Cleveland, people are like, how in the world did this young woman, you know, from that side of the track, if you will, get into a space of being able to be academically sound, professionally developed? How do you balance the nurture versus nature aspects of your life?
Ooh, that's a deep question. It's a deep question because the nature, the genetic sides of things can totally sometimes be barriers, so you think. You know, being in an environment where I am a first generation college student, being in an environment where I did see the crime, I did see the drugs, I did see the violence, that combination of the nature and just genetically what you're engaged with on a day-to-day basis, and then what you're around and what is nurturing you, because, you know, regardless of how much sometimes parents try to protect the very nature or nurture of an environment can have an adverse effect. But I'm grateful, because one of the things that I will say is that balance approach was knowing that allowing others to mother my child, I'm speaking, you know, in the language of my mom, allowing others to step in doesn't take anything from me. I think a lot of times as parents, there is this protectiveness in it, as it should be. And I will say, I do not have any children. I aspire to be a mother, but what I see even as a mentor, and I'm speaking, I think, from that lens, is that there is oftentimes this tension with, you know, at the end of the day, I'm their parent. And it's, what can I bring my children that is comprehensive, that is holistic, that regardless of where they come from, regardless of what their environment is like, they're going to be positioned to walk in purpose and be the best that they can be. And that was my lived experiences. No matter what the sacrifices were for my mom, what really separated me is her value and appreciation for those surrogate mothers, and recognizing that having the aunties and the big cousins and those other women who came in to mother and smother did not take anything from her. And I would say that no, the education system should not be responsible for rearing your children, but there is a partnership that has to happen for the betterment and for the best of your child. And she leaned into that too. All of my teachers, my second grade teacher is my Facebook friend. And she just comments on my posts, and she's so excited that she could be a part of my journey. And my story wasn't always that I was this brilliant, intelligent, respectful young lady. I went through a journey, a very rough journey. I was angry at periods of my life. I was frustrated at periods of my life, even envious. And I couldn't understand why God allowed me to experience such a different reality that even I experience now, and having to reconcile with that in my adulthood has been a journey. And it's been a journey that I've experienced with Jackie, and she's just been amazing, a part of that surrogate mom community in terms of helping me see what I really need. And I think those lived experience, even for her, for Jackie, is different than my mom, obviously. So I say all that to say that it's remembering that village is important. And just because you are biologically the parent, it does not take anything away to build, of course, a safe but comprehensive community that fills in the gaps.
Filling in those gaps is one of the areas where we definitely need people to step in. You've mentioned that it does take a village, and I want to appreciate you today for being able to share your story, because oftentimes children today, being in this pandemic, I cannot imagine, we lost over 600,000 people during the pandemic. And with that being said, there are a host of children who are left motherless, fatherless, auntless, cousinless, grandmotherless. And so it takes all of us to come into this space now to have a desire to want to walk alongside another person. As we prepare to wrap up this segment, if you could give a word of encouragement and support for people who are trying to figure out what's next for them, because they've lost a loved one or they don't have someone to come alongside them, what would you tell individuals who are saying, trust another person to stand in the gap for you?
Wow, I feel such a weight of responsibility answering that question. I will say this. I have learned, even in my professional career as a marketer, that empathy is important, right? There's some lived experiences that I have, and there's some that I don't. Fortunately, God allowed every single person who I've been on this journey with to still be here post-pandemic. But what I will say for those who don't have that reality is to process and deal with the grief and the loss of losing that trusted guidance and that light that was there for you. But also identify what it is that you really need and start to open yourself up to the possibility of what that could look like as you grow and you emerge. Because one thing I do know, and not to make this a ministry moment, but I do believe that God is always preparing you for your next, and he knows the end from the beginning. And so when you lose someone, although it's painful and although it's rough, he always gives you what you need for the season that you're in. And that has been something that I have experienced, maybe not so much in the loss part, but, we grieve relationships that no longer exist anymore. And so although I have not lost someone physically, there have been seasons where people that I was close to no longer is the case. And so I would say process. Don't be afraid to take that time to really reconcile with what has taken place, but then also open yourself up to the possibility and dig into the self-awareness efforts that are needed to identify what you need and be open to how God sends that and not to replace what was lost, but to help you in that season. Because each season we should grow, we should evolve, we should change. And I believe firmly that whatever it is that you need in that mentorship and that motherhood and whatever that looks like, if it's an aunt, it's a mentor, it's a spiritual mom, whatever is needed, that mother and that smother is waiting to help you in whatever it is that you need in this journey.
Thank you for sharing that. I want to bring in the entire group if we can, because both Latrice and Jerisha have raised some interesting points as it relates to people standing in the gap for other people. And I know that both Charlotte and Dr. Tierney have 1,000 things to say when it comes to standing in the gap for other people. Charlotte Avery.
So first of all, I wish I had a Kleenex or something next to me, because hearing them was just so powerful. Everything that Latrice said, everything that Jerisha said. And one thing that Jerisha said that really, really spoke to me as a woman, but also as a mother, is that, the village is so very, very important. And, I've always known that, but even going through the pandemic, and dealing with some major turning points in my life during the pandemic, it taught me how important that village is. And one thing that Jerisha said that really spoke to me is that, everybody in the village has their role. And so sometimes when you can't, do the part that you want to play in your village, that there is always somebody else who can be the other side of that. And so I'm just so thankful, because we really do, as parents, we do need to say, you know what, yeah, at the end of the day, I might be my children's mom, but I also have to be aware of the gifts that God has given me in other people to help me nurture them and grow them and speak into their lives. And it is just so critical that we do lean in, and that we are brave enough as mothers to lean into the village, so that we are very clear about the fact that we don't have to have it all the way together, because we don't have it all together. And so the village is there to help us. And the village is a group of God-sent people. And so that's something very powerful that Jerisha said that sticks with me, that really resonates with me. And I'm so thankful for my village. I'm thankful that, Jacquie is a part of my village. I'm thankful for all of the women, the teachers, my mom, and the women who have been a part of my village, and even the men who've been a part of my village too. And so I thought that was a very powerful statement.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm telling you, people think that African proverb is overused. And as we get older, we get into that space of saying, how do we develop the village? Dr. Tierney, I'm almost at a loss for words, simply because we get into that space of recognizing that we have to step up. And Jerisha took a pause and saying she felt the weight of having to answer that question. But as she is maturing, she's becoming a part of other people's villages. Dr. Tierney, what does it look like to be a village member?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, as Jerisha stated, I am a product of the village. I think I said at the top, first segment, I have a community, of mothers. And so all of the things, I love what you said, Jerisha, the mothering and the smothering, all of the mothering and the smothering that I received over the years, it's now my responsibility to give that, to those that are around me, to be a helpful part of those villages. So I am not a mother, but I am TT all day long. I have so many God babies. I am TT Tierney to so many surrogate nieces and nephews. And so my job, my role, as a part of the village, is to do some of the mothering and the smothering, to give my sisters a break when they need a break, to be the fun aunt, to be the aunt that does the discipline. I tell my friends, hey, if you don't want me to correct your baby, then she can't come over here and stay with me, because that loving correction, listen, I say it all the time, you don't have to be jumping on my couch and I can't tell you to stop, but that loving correction, pouring all of that is in me into them, because just like I am a reflection of my mom, my grandmother, my aunt, some of my mom's friends. I mean, even my mom would look at me and say, "Oh, you got that from Tracy." I feel a responsibility to pour that into those that are around me, into those children that are around me, even if I don't have my own. And who knows, one day God may come down and say, "Hell, Tierney, you have been blessed and highly favored, and you're going to have a baby." I'm going to be calling Charlotte, Jackie, let me collect my village. I need my village, And so I just think in that case, it's just reciprocal in that way.
Absolutely. I know that we're going to go to a break in a moment. I'm going to do my reflection at the end, but I need to ask Chef Rock, because for some of us, our grandmothers are no longer here, but you have a special relationship with the women in your life, and your grandmother is still with us, yes?
No, she passed several years ago.
Okay. I was wondering about that because of the relationship that you had with your mom. In that relationship that you had with your grandmother, how has she impacted you, or her life impacted you?
Well, one of the things, as I'm just benefiting from all of this wisdom being shared today, and I've been blessed to have so many different mothers and to have been raised by a village in my life. And I'm grateful. That's one of the wonderful things about my mother, is that she did lean on the village and continues to do so today, even when I ask her to not pick up the phone. But one of the things that I wanted to point out that, talking about the village, my father died when I was very young, maybe around 4 or 5 years old. So my biological father was not there. And as I said earlier, the mantra is what it is, like full acceptance. And one of the things that I've come to appreciate more and more every year is that my mother never tried to be a father. She definitely was and is, strong and a hustler and held the family down for many years and put us through college. As a father, I'm just like, how did you do that? But she would put, whether it be deacons at church or people, uncles, she would put men in my life. And she told me, in no uncertain terms, that I'm not a man, and there's certain things that I need you to learn from men. So speaking about the village, I think that it goes. That is something that is truly phenomenal about my mother, is that she realized that there was something, as great as she was, there was something she could not give me. And she worked her best and did her best to put that in my life. And I'm grateful for it.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing today your thoughts and tips. I know that our audience, when they watch this segment, as we, talk about what it means to have people in our life and in our space, we're celebrating moms, and when we come back after the break, I'm going to do my reflection and then wrap things up just a bit so that we can literally see how we are engaging everything that we need to do day to day. Today has been no shortage of an opportunity for us to gain tips and wisdom from not only our guests, but those to come. When we come back after the break, I'll share my reflections.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on there.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
You dig?
Welcome back, everyone, to A Balanced Life with Dr. Jacquie. I can tell you that I have learned so much from our guests and our panelists that we've had today. Whether you are a helicopter mom, a playful mom, if you had a mom in your life that was super strict and never let you go outside and made you come in before the street lights were on, we are all better for the women that have been in our spaces. Now, if you're thinking about becoming a mom and you're afraid, trust me, each of the persons that you've heard talk today, they had that same type of fear and trepidation, but they began to seek out people in their village who could give them the wisdom, the direction, the guidance that they needed in order to be able to say that they were ready. Thank you, everyone, for watching today. And I know that for those of you who have lost your moms, we're going to light a candle today for them. It is in the spirit of motherhood, the spirit of parenting, the spirit of thankfulness and gratitude that we light this candle at the end of our show today for all the moms who have gone, whether they passed away suddenly, whether you lost your mom during this pandemic, whether they had long-term illness and you had an opportunity to prepare. Let me just say, losing a parent is not easy. I'm coming up on 12 years this summer, and some days are definitely better than others. But I am delighted to be able to walk by the mirror each day and see some of my mother's features, to have conversations with people and share from some of her wisdom and mother wit. We honor you today, each of you who are in whatever space that you're in as we approach Mother's Day. We honor you and we honor their light in you. Have a great week, everyone. Enjoy your Mother's Day. Celebrate the way that you can. Peace and love to each of you. Bye now.